Northern Beaches Council would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands on which we gather, the Gayamargal and Garigal people, and show our respect to elders past and present and other Aboriginal people here today. Thank you for your interest in Northern Beaches Council's Community Grants program. We run several different grants that vary in focus, and this video is intended to give general application advice rather than focus on one specific grant. The aim of all the videos on the Grant Resources page on Council's website is to help you draft a strong application and to answer some of the most frequently asked questions we get when people decide to make a grant application. You will find additional resources and information on our grants webpage, and we encourage you to have a look at these before starting your grant application. We want to start out by giving some general tips that will help you develop a strong grant application. Firstly, and most importantly, we encourage you to read the guidance document for the grant you are interested in. This document will outline key eligibility criteria such as the specific types of organisations or individuals allowed to apply for the grant, and what sort of projects will be considered for funding. If you don't meet this initial eligibility criteria, then you should consider looking for other alternative grant options. Secondly, make sure you read the application questions carefully, get an understanding of what they are asking for, and make sure that your response answers the question. This might sound very basic, but it is amazing how often applicants write a response which fails to answer what the question is asking. Once you have drafted your application, make sure you go back and proofread what you have written. Things like spelling mistakes, poor grammar, and failing to answer questions properly can have a negative impact on your application when it comes to being assessed. If possible, ask someone from your organisation to review your application as well. It's always useful to have another pair of eyes go over it before you submit it. When applying for a grant, be aware of these common ways that people fail in making a strong application. Firstly, not following the guidelines. As mentioned previously, not following the guidelines, including word limits and submission requirements, can result in your proposal being rejected. Secondly, lack of clarity. Failing to clearly articulate the problem, goals, and outcomes of your project can lead to confusion and lack of understanding by the team assessing your application. Inadequate research. Researching the Council's priorities, guidelines, and preferences is a must. If you don't, it can result in a proposal that does not align with the Council's interests, and this is an automatic fail. Lack of planning. Develop a clear and feasible plan for achieving your project goals and aims. If you don't, it can make your proposal seem unfocused or unrealistic. Weak budget. Failing to develop a realistic and detailed budget for your project can make it difficult for Council to understand how you will use the grant funds appropriately. On Council's Grant Resources page, you will find a video and presentation dedicated to showing you how to go about budget preparation for your application. Please ensure you have a look at these resources before making your application. The sixth common way applications fail is because of insufficient evidence. Failing to use data and evidence to support your proposal can make it seem less credible and less likely to be successful. Number 7 is poor writing. Poorly written proposals, including those that are unclear, overly complex, or contain errors, can make it difficult for Council to understand your proposal and diminish your credibility. And lastly, lack of engagement. Failing to engage stakeholders in the development of your proposal, including community members, partners, and other organisations, can make your proposal seem disconnected from the needs and interests of the community you are serving. Keep these commonly made mistakes in mind when making your next grant application and try to avoid them to ensure you give your application the best chance of success possible. In order to complete a Northern Beaches Council grant application, you will need to create an account on Smarty Grants, which is a very common grant management system used by many funders. Links to a help guide and information about the Smarty Grants system can be found on our Grants Resources webpage. This brings us to the end of this guidance video. We hope you have found it useful. On the Grant Resources page of the Northern Beaches Council website, you will also find our videos and presentations covering budget preparation, understanding outcomes and outputs, incorporation, auspicing, choosing council goals to align with, and child protection. Our Grant Guru tool, Grants Hub, which is an online service to help you access opportunities Australia-wide, a link to a Smarty Grants help guide for applicants and frequently asked questions, a table illustrating Northern Beaches Council's grant offerings, a grants application checklist to help ensure you have completed all steps in the process. You will find the grant guidelines and Smarty Grants application form for each grant program on the grants page of the Council website. We look forward to receiving your application soon.